Good morning, everybody. I'm Kelly Updegree here with Fairway Independent Mortgage with Ms. Mayene Demisiano, or AKA Nini. It's our episode this week, Let's Talk Real. This week, we are going to be discussing how to become a realtor, and Nini's going to explain that process, and I have a few questions I'm going to quiz her on. And today we're talking about becoming a realtor and the different things that go in with doing that. But let's start off first with so last week we discussed how to become a mortgage loan originator, which I'm not going to go into all that detail, but if you're interested in that, please take a look at last week's episode. And this week is all about her and everybody's different, but she's going to talk about how she became a realtor and what steps you need to take. But first, let's talk about the myth of the day with being a realtor.
So the myth of the day is that real estate agents get paid a salary or they get paid for showing. There's a lot of uncertainty, especially when I'm starting to work with new buyers that they believe that that's the case. They're like, oh, you show me a house, then I can work with another agent later on. But what people don't know is that we don't get paid until that buyer or seller actually closes a deal with us, assisting them as their agent. We are paid on commission, which means when I'm showing houses to a buyer out there, this is all free of my time is free there. Like, I'm not charging anybody anything. I'm not getting paid for the time to show those houses. So it can be a little bit devastating on my end when I find out that a client that I've been showing homes end up working with another realtor, right? Because all that work, went to waste in a sense. I would be happy to help anybody, but commission is how we get paid, and so a lot of people don't know that. And so in order for an agent to be able to actually earn that commission, there is two types of agreement that we have to be in. So with the buyer, there's a buyer agency agreement, and with the seller, there's a listing agency agreement, and that's where we determine how the commission is going to be paid. Now, on the buying side, that's another thing that a lot of people don't know, right? So some people may say, okay, so yes, you are paid commission. So how much do I pay if I'm the buyer? So in Pennsylvania and a lot of other states, the seller is the one that actually covers the commission for both listing agent and buying agent. So a buyer actually does not pay for a commission for a buyer's agent unless that was already determined, or maybe in a specific situation that is what's being offered, as part of your offer or something like that. But normally the commission is already agreed upon between the listing agent and the seller, and they are already taking into account that they're going to be paid for that buyer's agent commission. So the buyer really only pays the costs of actually financing the property, buying the house, and maybe there's some sort of broker fee to process their file on the buying side, but they're very minimal, usually no more than $700 or something like that, depending on the brokerage, because they're all different. But the commission itself, what the agent, myself, earns representing the buyer, comes from the seller side. And that's a lot of people don't know that. And I know it's not necessarily of common knowledge. A lot of people do know that we do commission as well, but they don't understand how the commission works. So I feel like this is a very big myth when it comes to real estate compensation, how a realtor makes the money in the end of everything. And they usually see real estate agent shows, right? Real estate shows out there, and see those agents driving big cars and whatnot, and think, oh, that's so easy to be a realtor, but they don't see all the back end work that we have to do, and the lots and lots and lots of houses we have to show before we actually earn that commission. And it can take, it used to take only about 3 months, but now we're in a market where we're showing, 20, maybe sometimes even 30 houses to a client before they actually get an offer accepted and get in a contract themselves, and it actually closes. So it may take a long time working with one client alone before we actually earn that commission. So that's the myth of the day. Pretty long, I'm sorry, but I feel like that's one that a lot of people.
Well, and honestly, that's the same with I don't know that we talked about last week, but
Yeah.
as a loan officer, same deal. Like we are commission only, so all my time during the day, evenings, weekends, I'm not getting paid for that. I don't get paid. We as lenders, if you are a licensed loan officer and you don't work under a tree of a big bank, usually you're just all commission and you don't get paid until after the loan settles. So, but
Which
yeah,
means we
that's
gotta
a huge.
hustle.
What's that?
Which means we gotta hustle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but people think the life of even a lender or a real estate agent is so easy, but we are really all about relationships,
Yep.
and it's really about the service that we provide. If someone's not happy with our service, they can walk away, and there it goes. It could be 6 months of your time just
Mhm.
for nothing. So
Yeah.
it happens. My biggest thing is like I'm all about helping people, but sometimes it doesn't work out for some clients, right? And it could be like after 6 months of looking for homes, putting offers, looking at a lot of homes, and then they decide I'm taking a break, and you're like,
Yeah,
no.
I know.
And we
Yeah.
know we know it's for the best for them, right? We are not about the money, but it is like it can happen in our
Well,
industry.
you and I have had few clients
Feel
that
like that, yes,
have
that
done that.
after
And
such a
yeah,
sometimes
like
even a year-long clients, and they just decide, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna rent for another year. I'm like, oh, yeah, good for you.
right.
It breaks my heart, but I know that's probably the best call for you. But yeah. So just so you guys understand, if you are considering, there is this, very, it's not a consistent income by any means. You do have, if you want to have consistency, you have to hustle, and you have to really be the best, and do the best service you can to your clients, so they want to be with you and work with you and trust you. That way, even if they do take a break, they come back to you after that year or whatever break they
Right.
take, because it is all about you doing the best service and keeping that client attached to your hip until they're
Right.
ready to move on. Even after they purchase a home, you still stay in touch with them, because they might end up selling at some point, or they might end up refinancing on the Cali side. So it's relationships, again, is huge in this industry, and the service you provide is really what makes you thrive or not. So huge in both of our industries,
Yeah.
huge relationships. So
So I'm going to ask you a few questions to kind of get into the details about being a real estate agent. But first of all, why did you decide to become a real estate agent? What was it
I
that,
decided. So my story of like wanting to become a realtor is a little bit different maybe than some other people. I was corporate world for a long time, and I was working as a project manager for a few years, so very busy. And I wanted something to do on the side that was more like a hobby, right? But I started out as an investor before I became a realtor. So I actually was doing wholesaling, and participated in 2 flip situations where I was just kind of learning more from other investors that were doing it at the time. Then I got myself into the Airbnb business, and I had a couple Airbnbs that I was managing for my own. So that was like a fun thing, and I got really, really into real estate on the investing through the investing, window. And then because of us of being so involved, I realized how important it would be to have my own license, and it would facilitate, any investments or potential deals that I would like to do. Not really thinking I would be a realtor full time at any time, right? That was kind of like a let me just get it because this is a fun thing and I enjoy doing it. So I got my license, and then when you get a license, you're automatically instructed to kind of work with some clients and learn the business, and that's what I did. And I did it part time for about a couple of years, and I just loved it. I feel like the feeling of helping other people, that was always instilled in me, like even from when I just used to serve in the military. And I always being like a coach by heart. Like, I don't know, it's just always being like, I was a sergeant, I was always helping my soldiers, and now into real estate, that became the same thing. I'm like guiding these people to, for most of them, it's the biggest purchase they will ever do, and be a part of that is such a fulfilling feeling, that I just got hooked and addicted to it. I just love working with people and seeing all the real estate and getting to know new people every day. It's not always easy. Trust me, it's not. There's a lot of headaches because, again, you're in a relationship industry, and not all relationships are going to be perfect, right? It's how you handle. But I just fell in love with it, and then I decided to become a full-time real estate agent in 2018, and I haven't looked back since. So,
Okay. So what do you think is the most important aspect of being a real estate agent? What is, when it comes to you and your customers, what is the most important thing
like
about
your core skill requirements.
Yeah.
I would say keeping yourself organized, and communication. With different people in different aspects, but communication is such a huge thing in our industry, and it goes back, like I said, to relationships. So not just with the clients, but with the lenders, but with the inspectors, with the builders, whoever you're working with. Having good communication and having good relationships, it's really a vital core skill, if you call it a skill, right? But it's a core foundation you have to have as a realtor. I feel like if you don't know how to communicate and deal with a situation with another person that you may be working with, that deal may fall through just because of your lack of skill and communication. And you gotta know how to be professional. You gotta know how to talk to people the right way, because everybody has a different personality, and you have to be very tactical. You may be talking in one way with someone, but you might have to change the way you talk. Not change yourself, but the way you approach a conversation with a different type of person. And that's a skill that it takes time. You may already have it, may already be like natural to you, but for some people may not. And it's definitely something you need to constantly be polishing up. And I find myself that in this industry, even before when I was in the corporate world, being a project manager, you have to have that tactical way of communication. And I think that translates into real estate very, very easily. Communication and relationships is really the core of real estate.
And so what is the one thing that you tell your, say you have a new person coming to you that wants to start looking at homes,
Mm-hmm.
How do you coach them to start their journey with purchasing their first home, second home, whatever it may be? What is your strategy in explaining, because it's a journey.
Yeah, it is a journey for sure. It's a buying process, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you start that process with your borrowers?
Yeah. So education. I feel like everybody, honestly, even the people that have already had a home and already sold a home, or they still don't know all the ins and outs, because maybe the experience they had wasn't necessarily as clarifying, or they didn't understand the steps they were going through. So I feel like educating my buyers is really the very first step. I like to do a buyer consultation, being it in person, be it over the phone, being on Zoom, or being at a house that we're seeing. I always try to take 10-15 minutes to just kind of let's talk about the process. I know sometimes they come to me, I have no questions, I kind of understand it already, but they do, and they don't understand it most of the time. And it's not because they didn't do the research, or it's just that there's so much online, there's so much information that it becomes noisy and it becomes confusing, and then the information kind of overlaps into each other, and they know all of it, but they don't know how they all come together. So I feel like educating your clients is a very crucial step in the process of buying a home, so they feel comfortable when they know what to expect, and they know that if they don't know something, they will feel comfortable coming to you, because you were that person that gave them the foundation, and you kind of builds credibility and trust between you and your client too, when you're doing that, taking that first step to really let me explain to you how it works. And if you have questions, please know you can to me. And it just builds that trust right out of the beginning when you're trying to really educate, not thunder down, like not say, hey, you don't understand it. Like you have to be tactical how you present it to some people. Some people are super open about it. Some people are not so open about it. So you got to be tactical in what they understand, what they don't understand, and then really break it down and make that process very smooth. So from the education point, it becomes pretty easy to have the process after that, because once they understand how it works, every step of the way, every new thing that comes into the buying process, it becomes easier for me to talk to them about, because they already knew to expect that potentially, because we talked about it. So that first education piece is crucial in the buying process for sure.
Okay. So tell me some pros and cons to being a real estate agent, because not every world is perfect, but just give me kind of an overview of your pros and your cons and how you balance that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the pros, right? The pros are the fun part. So meeting new people, you're just expanding your horizons by talking to different people from different backgrounds, from different ethnicities, and different histories, that things I've been through. I love that portion of what I do. Is just meeting new people and talking, getting to know who they are, where they come from, and all the amazing stories you get to hear sometimes. So that is a huge pro. Seeing real estate is my second pro. I love looking at homes. So if you are like a fanatic on HGTV, you're going to love this job, because you get to see from the worst to the best in one day. Like I've had moments that I showed houses, they were $1 million. And then I have moments that I showed a house that was $10,000. That was a fire printing situation. You could not even step on the floor. So you're going to see everything that is to see in real estate. And I feel like that's fascinating, especially when, I started in real estate on the investing side. So when I see a bad looking property, I see potential. I see that like, hey, this can be a huge opportunity. But also when I see the beautiful home, I was like, oh, I can turn this into this, because this is amazing. And you get all these ideas. So that's, I guess, the second biggest pro, which is being able to see all that's out there, and have access to this amazing home sometimes that you can get to see. And then the pro also to help other people. I mean, I just had so many different buyers, especially on the buying side, but the selling side too. But the buying side is just, you have some people that never thought they could afford to buy a home, and now they realize they can, because you talk to them about it. I've had people that came to me like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to buy a house. I'm just curious. And then we start talking and we realize, yes, you can. And you will. And then we end up buying and closing the house. And I've had many clients cry at settlement, because that was their dream, was to own a home. So that is the biggest pro, and the most satisfying. And even though you had maybe a very rough, let's say, buying process, let's say that contract per se, the escrow was a nightmare. But when you get to the table, and you close on that deal, and they see the happy smiles or even tears of joy from that client, just kind of makes it all go away. And this is what we're here for, kind of deal. So those are the three biggest pros, I would say. The cons, right? So you are a commission based in person, independent contractor. So what you do is what you get. If you don't put the effort in, you're not going to get it out. And it's not necessarily, hey, I found your home, put you on the contract, hands off. No, it's a lot of work. You're going to have to really stay on top of things and make sure that people are communicating. I feel like on the realtor side, we are much like a hub, right? And we are the core between the buyer, the seller, the lender, the title company, the appraiser, we are in the center. And if we are lacking, that deal can fall through, like because of lack of communication, lack of negotiation, whatever it is. If we're not there and we're not really making it happen, and it is a team work between the buyer agent and selling agent, we have to really work together to get all these parties, in sync and make the deal go through. So, being a commission-based, independent contractor is a con, and then, people just don't realize the amount of work that goes into it. I guess that could be a second con too. Just people see the shows out there and they think that our job is so easy, right? We just show 3 houses, we put an offer, make a couple calls, and then we closing in 10 days. Like, I wish it was that easy, like in the shows. Oh my gosh. I watched Selling Sunset too, trust me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish we had all cash buyers, and the deals were closing 7 days and this $500,000 commission. We're in Pennsylvania. We barely have $500,000 homes, so we're not making that much money. And we do a lot of work. And sometimes we're doing even more work for properties that are not even $100,000. So you're barely making the minimum commission. Which, just to clarify, in Pennsylvania, there's not necessarily a set standard commission, right? There's no guidelines in the real estate commission department that stipulates you have to get paid a certain amount. So an agent can offer and charge anything they want, as soon as it is within reasonable, within reason. And now, of course, there's a standard common practices in our area, and I would say it's between 2 and 3% per agent, but there's no set amount, like I said. So I'm not going to talk about each brokerage or what my broker charges. I'm not going there, just so you guys know, but I would say that the average is between 2 and 3. And then every deal will be different because it depends on the agreement that was made between the seller and the listing agent and what they decide that they're going to be offering to that buyer's agent. And also, we never know what the seller's agent is actually making out of the deal because that's a private agreement between the seller and the agent themselves. So again, it can be different at every time. And that's another con too, because you're not certain. You could be making 3% out of a sale, but you could also be making only $1,000 out of a sale. So the inconsistency is a big con when being an agent, is you're not certain of when you're getting a deal, and when you do get a deal, you're also not certain of how much you're getting out of that deal, because it varies so much, all the time. So that's another big con. I think the third, maybe and other biggest one of my pet peeves, is that I mentioned teamwork, right? So it is me representing the buyer as a buyer's agent, and you have the listing agent representing the sellers, or I could be the seller's agent, he has a buyer's agent, but we both have to work together to make that deal go through. And in real estate industry, and we'll talk about the requirements soon for what you need to have to become a realtor, but it's not too difficult to become a realtor. And when you do get your license, that doesn't mean you know all there is to know about real estate or how to do the business, right? So sometimes we find ourselves in a deal with someone that is really not aware of everything that needs to happen. So the heavy load falls into one agent, maybe the more experienced agent, and that can be a con because you end up doing more work than you have to normally. Another con in that same kind of working together situation would be that some agents they're jerks. It happens. It's a personality thing, right? So sometimes it may not go head to head with that other agent, and it can be challenging. So it's hard sometimes for some people to put egos aside and then just try to make the deal go through. So that could be a con too. It's just making sure that you have a good relationship with the agent you're working with, and that will transpire on the deal 10 times over, because if you have a good relationship, that deal will go through no matter what, because you guys can work together. But if you're already butting heads from the beginning, and it could be for many different reasons, that can be challenging. And you don't want to be the agent that caused a deal to fall through because of a relationship challenge, right? Because now you're talking about damage your client's potential for buying a house or selling a house. So I would say those are it, 3 and 3.
Okay. And so with that being said, because you gave a really good overview of everything, what is my last and final question? What is the most important thing your buyers or sellers should know about you and being a realtor and just looking for a house? What do you think is the most important piece of your job, not your job, it's just your
like what the clients should be looking for in an agent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what's the most important thing they should know about you and what they should be, you personally, because every agent's different.
Okay.
So, just like, what's the most important thing you would want them to know about you?
Well, I would say I am very perfectionist. Not to being a negative point. I'm to like a control point. I am pretty organized. I have my ways of doing things, and I usually make sure that things are on track. And I really pride myself on great service. I strive to do the best that I can for my clients, and I will always be in touch with them. And I am an educator, so I naturally tend to over explain things. Which is not a bad thing in this industry, actually. I found that sometimes in other industries that can be a con, but in this case, I'd rather you more than understand what's going on than not. So you can expect that from me as your agent. I will always make sure that you are fully aware of everything that's happening, and I'll keep you updated throughout. And you can count on my organization because I am a little bit of a perfectionist. So, and I am staying on top of it with relationships too. Like everybody I work with, I thank goodness try to have the best relationships I have, even if I have challenging personalities that I may be working with. I still have yet to have too crazy of a problem. Nothing ever have gone through and actually jeopardize a deal for me, and hopefully stays that way. I feel like he's always about being professional, so any client can expect that from me, of being professional throughout, no matter what. And I will fight for my clients. In the end, I'm a little Brazilian, and I have the Brazilian temper, and I will fight for them no matter what. Being my seller or my buyer, you can expect that from me. I will go to the end to fight for you. And some of my clients in particular may be very aware of that, because we had to do it in some instances, right? We never know. Sometimes there are some other parties, that may not be all there doing the right things. And I can, it's sad to say, but there are some agents that do things very, very shady, and some clients don't even know, but they kind of tag along because they don't know any better. The agents should know the law. So sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we do have to fight, like legally fight for our clients. And you and I know we've been there together for our clients. So we will do that. Like, you can expect that from me. I'm not just gonna, bow down and accept whatever just because it's easier that way. I will not. If I see that you are right and you have the right for something, I will fight for you, even if we have to go to court for that. And it is what it is. So that's what you can expect from me. For sure.
Great.
Yeah.
So that pretty much sums it up. So our myth is that real estate agents are not on a salary basis. It's commission only.
Neither are lenders.
What's that?
Neither are the lenders.
Neither are the lenders. We work with everybody until that closing day, and then we don't get paid till after that either.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's all a relationship business. In your case, it's all about education and being there for your buyer and your seller, because you
work with both.
You're the middleman. You are the one. In most cases, you're the one that starts the process, even though they should get their pre-approval first. You're usually the one referring somebody out to me or whoever else.
And that's the more common. I guess it's the most common, right? Because people are usually out there looking for homes before they are looking to get approved for homes, because they don't understand they should be doing that first. But
correct.
It is what it is. That's why we're here, to educate them.
Yep, but it's your relationship business. You build it. You could be working with somebody for a few months or many months, and sometimes one of the biggest cons is they decide they don't want to buy just yet. And again, like you said, one of your most important things is just kind of getting in front of them and being their educator and getting them into, and you will always fight for your borrowers no matter what, and you'll get them to the closing table. So
Brazilian power.
Exactly.
So I just
So,
want to kind of close that too. And then in case someone is looking to become an agent, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to explain the steps and what you can do and how you can obtain the license. But just to give you guys a little summary of what's actually required to be an agent, you must be 18 years of age and you have to have a high school diploma. You do not need to have a bachelor's degree like some people may think. You only need to have a high school diploma and you can go for the license. But there are some requirements in order to obtain your license. You do have to take a 75-hour course, and that gives you 5 credits for basic real estate courses. Part of these 75 hours are the state portion, and then you have the additional hours that will go for the national portion of the content that you're learning. And then once you're done with these two, then Shane is here. I'm in the podcast. Sorry, guys. Got visitors. So once you're done with those two, then you get you have to pass both portions, and then you take the national and state exams. And I believe it was 75% passing rate. I believe that's what it is. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it is. And then once you pass the both state and national portion, you get to get your license. But there's a requirement in order for your license to be seen as active. You do need to choose a brokerage where you're going to pretty much hang your license at. So yes, you are an independent contractor. You're not necessarily a salary employee, but you do have to have your license with a specific brokerage of your choice. And my biggest advice is interview these brokerages. And yes, I say interview. Usually you are the one being interviewed for jobs, right? But in this case, you're interviewing the brokerages because you want to see which brokerage can offer you the better terms for what you're looking for. And you may be looking for different things. So different agents may have different personalities or work styles, or they may be looking for different specific things. And every brokerage is different. So that's why I say interview different ones until you find the one that suits you, right? And suits your needs or your family needs, because they are very unique, all of them. Maybe one day we can talk about different brokerages and how they differ and what they offer. But just as an FYI to you guys is looking to become a realtor, you do have to choose one in order for your license to go active. And then there are some requirements as well in order to maintain your license. You do have to take a 14-hour class approved by the state or the National Association of Realtors, NAR, and then you do that every 2 years. So it's really just 14 hours every 2 years. And then your license gets renewed every pair year or even year. So 2022, 2024, you know what I mean? So every 2 years you get your license renewal done. And then you have to have this requirement of education in place in order to be able to do so. And then there's a little fee that you have to pay. It's nothing really that crazy. I believe it's about $97 for the renewal. And then your brokerage that you choose may have a fee that you may be paying monthly as well. So just know there are some expenses, even though you're not getting paid. There are going to be some expenses up front. And then once you close your first deal, maybe those expenses are going to be even out. But do expect to have some upfront costs to become an agent, especially with the course, the test, and then your prorated dues for the remainder of the year that you're in. Those are going to be something you're going to have to, have something saved up for in order to activate your license. And I think that's basically it. There's, a lot more to licensing. And I'm actually going now for my broker license because I'm looking to become a broker. And there's a lot of classes to take. I'm currently going through real estate law, which is so much fun. Coming from a lawyer. I have a law degree in Brazil, and I was like, no, I'm never going to law school again. But now I'm having to take real estate law because it's a requirement to become a broker. So that's being fun. But yeah, there's 240 hours to become a broker.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a lot of classes, and I am trying to expedite my process by finishing up in less than a year. So we'll see. I'm getting there. Actually, I'm 3 classes away. So
that's great.
Very close. I think in August is my last one, so I'm excited.
Oh, wow.
Then I will have to take the national and state portions of the broker license. So just know that if you become a broker, you have to do it all over again, but just more classes. And that's it. That's it for the requirements. If anybody have any questions about real estate, becoming a realtor, I'll be more than happy to chat with you guys about. And also on the investing side, since I do have a background that I don't do real estate investing as much right now because I am pretty busy already with, being an agent for buyers and sellers. But if you have questions or you'd like to know and learn more about wholesaling or investing or Airbnbs or, you name it, I'll be more than happy to explain what I know. It may not be that much, but I know a little bit, and I'll be happy to share that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
I think that sums it up for how to become a realtor and you personally, what you've done and your insight on being a realtor. So that kind of concludes our podcast for today on Let's Talk Real.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing else that you'd like to add, I guess we'll say our goodbyes until next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week then. And next week we're talking about you remember? We're talking about DSCR loans.
Oh, yes, DSCR loans. Yes, I'm sorry.
Very unique mortgage loan type. And I'm excited because that's something that I'm not too familiar with. I have one now that for the first time, so we'll see how that one goes. But we'll be giving you guys more insights and
some guidance and some criteria on how you, if you were to, everybody's situation is different, and DSCR is definitely a unique one. And that is what we'll be going over next week on our podcast. So hope everybody has a great week, and I will see you later. So
I'll see you guys. Have a good day. Bye, guys.